My hope is it's peaceful. But I do think on the longer term, there's a reality here, which is yes, this group will have a right to be out there and protest. Absolutely, nobody denies that. But let's look at what's being protested. There is a denialism that January 6th was what it was. That is a belief that I think not only has held steady, even has in some cases grown to say that it was peaceful, or it wasn't even Trump supporters. And that's what they're out there protesting. Plus, keep in mind, some of these groups are basically for the overthrow of the federal government. And there has been this new, I call it fetish lately, of overthrowing the government, and people playing dress up as militia, maybe because they've never served in their life and they're bored. But that's got to be pushed back against. That is really dangerous long term for this country. Yeah, I wouldn't put the onus on Donald Trump for what happens necessarily at this rally. I do put blame on him for what's led to this moment, because when you convince people that the election was stolen, and you say that what happened on January 6th was hugs and kisses, and that's a person of authority. I mean, there's a special responsibility when you're somebody that has authority. Donald Trump does. You realize the words of a leader like that, can heal. Like you saw, frankly, that night of 9/11, when George W. Bush talked about the 23rd Psalm and stiffen the spine and the souls of the American people. But words of a leader also have the ability to wound and destroy, as you've seen when Donald Trump punches down and attacks and says, General Lee would have won Afghanistan. I mean, those are the kinds of things that divide. So I think he bears some responsibility for sure. Well, if they were going to listen to me, I'd tell them, obviously, make your voice heard. It's fine. Peaceful demonstrations, we all support, but respect law enforcement and military doing their job. And that's what was so kind of in the face on January 6th, is people with Blue Lives Matter flags beating police was kind of an incongruent message. I think the mental toll, it depends on what happens. I think the mental toll of January 6th was particularly bad on the law enforcement community. And it wasn't just what happened on that day, although that was brutal, it was medieval. It's the fact that, when I got back from Iraq, for instance, yeah, Iraq's a tough time, but you come back and the American people applaud you. Thank you for your service. That makes a difference in your ability to cope with what you dealt with and what you did. If you're a law enforcement officer that defended democracy that day, and now the party that most likely you belong to, because most police officers identify as Republicans, deny that it even happened, that takes a real toll. That's taken a real emotional toll on them, because the party that they thought was there to support them has basically pretended like their wounds aren't real.